Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Well, today I've got wood. Let's make something. Well, what I'm going to make today is I'm going to make a kick holder for standard Schlage style kicks. And I've just got these two pieces of wood here. I went ahead and cut them into a fairly small square using the chop saw. So if you got any type of saw, you can just cut these down pretty easy. That's just the first step. Second step I've went ahead and done for you is I just went ahead and sanded one side of each fairly smooth so I can get them even for the glue up. So, well, right now we're just going to go ahead and start with the first step, which is not the glue up. So, yeah, I had to cut away there for a second because I wasn't as prepared as I should have been. But what I got to do is I got to mark out a circle on that. Quick and dirty way to find the center is to just take a ruler and take your measurements. So I'm going to start at 6 inches. I'm going to just rotate it around a little bit until I get my furthest distance, which looks like right there. I'm just going to go ahead and make a mark. I'm going to come in from another angle. Doesn't matter. It could be any angle. I could do it from this way if I wanted to. Looks like maybe right about there. And just for good measure, we'll go ahead and hit it a third time. And that looks about right. Okay, so we found our center. So we know where to place our cuts for the kick itself. So here's the kick. And we want these cuts to be far enough apart that you can get the kick in there just fine. So we're looking at, 3/16 of an inch. Let me hold it at the one there for you. Yeah, 3/16 of an inch. So go ahead and mark that out on here from the center. Too bad this ruler doesn't go to 30 seconds, so I'm just going to have to guesstimate. All right, so I've got my two marks. Now I'm just going to grab a little square. And mark them off to the edge of the piece of wood. All right, so we've got our marks there. Except I've made one mistake already. Actually, that mark needs to go the other direction on the grain so we can have some more strength. So let me go ahead and remeasure that real quick, put a new mark on it, and I'll get right back. So I've got the grain oriented the correct direction this way. My next step is to go ahead and drill this piece out with the paddle bit. And to use this, I'm using a 5/8 paddle bit. Let me go ahead and get that in a vise and we'll get that started. I've got the 5/8 paddle bit in the drill. And we're just going to drill a hole straight through this. You don't have to be too particularly careful about blowout on the back side because that's going to be glued together. Let's go ahead and put that needle point right in the center. And if you're worried about holding it level, one little trick I can do here, I take the ruler off my little level here and hold it here right next to it as I drill, which is generally what I do. through, nice and straight, clean hole. Like I said, we're not worried about the blowout on the back. We can deal with that later. Okay, next step up is we've got to go ahead and cut this slot out, and we'll cut that out on the bandsaw. All right, now we're set up to cut on the bandsaw. We're just going to go ahead and cut that slot out there, and then we're going to go for the glue up. Now we're ready for the glue up. I've got the pieces set here aligned, sanded up together. I went ahead and sanded that a little bit more. I've got the grain matching up the right way. And it looks like I'm going to avoid the nail holes that were originally in here by placing this right about here. So that looks like that's going to line up great. So let's go ahead and glue this bad boy up and stick it in the vise, let it dry for a few hours. I'm not worried about any squeeze out or excess. Generally, when I glue stuff like this up, I want to use more than I need. Okay. Make sure I'm still lined up the way I want to be. Rub the two together to spread the glue a little bit more evenly. And now we just stick it in the vise. So it's a couple days later, and the glue is actually set up. I know it actually sets up in about, 4 or 5 hours, but I had some things to get to. So before we cut this out on the bandsaw, we got to drill a little bit deeper in there. So we'll go ahead and grab the drill with the paddle bit and hog this out just a little bit more. Not quite deep enough yet. Try not to knock my camera over again. Go just a little bit deeper. All right, we're deep enough, and we'll clean up the rest of that with the file and Dremel. But now it's time to go ahead and get this cut out. cut out, but it's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. Now the other thing is we got to get this sanded up, make it look a little bit more round. All right, I've got the kick holder here, and I've got the standard size Schlage kick cylinder here. Oh, it does fit nicely. It's not too loose, and a little pop does knock it out, so I didn't have to do any extra sanding in there. It does sit a little bit cockeyed in there, but that's because I didn't get this one cut real good. That's not that big of a deal. The big deal is how comfortable it is to hold in your hand. So when I'm picking these types of locks, Schlages in general, I like to use top of the keyway. And that gives me the same position that I get and about the same grip I get when I pick a padlock. So it just makes it very comfortable when I want to take a Schlage kick challenge lock. One that's been kicking my butt for a while. I'll sit on the couch and, you know, just try to pick on it while I'm sitting on the couch or something watching TV. But that works out pretty good. So we don't need to do any adjustments to this. Let's go ahead and put our finish on it. I don't need to sand it anymore because it just doesn't really need it for what it is. If you're making one of these and you want to make it real pretty, real shiny, and yeah, that's totally up to you. Okay, for this project, this is the type of polyurethane I'm going to be using. I'm not a super fan of this polyurethane, but for little projects like this, it works out great. When I make my picks, I cannot stand this polyurethane because it discolors them a little bit. So when I do, and I'm stepping away from the camera, when I do make my picks, I use that kind. So just a little bit of difference. All right, let's get this open and adjust the camera a little bit so you have a little bit more view. And I got to find my crappy Stanley screwdriver, which is my paint can opener. And there we go. You see how milky this stuff is. And that's why I don't like it generally, because it will give the really pretty woods that I use on my picks some sort of milky texture. Let me see if I got something that'll just fit right in here. There we go. I'm using my cobalt bit adapter and just use that to dip it down in. And you don't have to dip it like this. It just gives it a really thick coat in one application. And it doesn't really look the best when it's finished either. But like I said, this is going to be something that I'm going to be using, sitting on the couch, picking locks. Pop that bubble back there. All right, I'm going to go stick this in the vise and let it dry. And we'll come back to it in a little while once it's dry. There we go. After we got the finish on it, there's our finished project. Not too fancy of an item for a kick holder, but it does seem to do the job. And if you really wanted to do more than just lightly sand it and hit it with some polyurethane, well, you can sand it really nicely and put a little bit of stain on it. So, yeah, but there we go. That's how it works. A little Schlage style kick holder. And if you had one of the kicks that has the little notch on the bottom, you can actually cut a little notch out on here. And pretty much as far as Euro cylinders go, pretty much follow the same concept. You just measure it out, use a 5/8 inch drill bit, or you can use a paddle bit or a with what I used on this one was actually a Forstner bit, and gets the same job done. So pretty simple, pretty easy to work with, and you're just using up a little bit of scrap wood that you had laying around. So that's the wooden kick holder, guys. Everyone, thanks for watching. Please stay safe. Don't do anything illegal. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe.